Hey guys, in today's video we're going to talk about the 2 best drills for a perfect backswing length. I want to talk to you today about live view golf. Now you guys hear me say all the time that you need feedback when you're practicing. You need to know if you're actually doing what you're trying to do, and the best way to give yourself feedback ultimately is video. And not only is video the best way to give yourself feedback, but being able to see yourself simultaneously as you're doing a movement is the best form of video feedback. It's the best way I've seen to make changes in your swing and be able to correlate the differences between your feels and your reels. Live view is super easy to use and set up. Simply set it up behind or in front of you. You connect it with your iPad or phone, pop that on the ground. You can actually do your practice, see yourself as you're doing it, the best way to expedite your process. I encourage you guys to check out Live View Golf. We'll put a link in the description down below with a coupon code. Hey guys, we're out here at the beautiful Westhaven Golf Club in Franklin, Tennessee, just outside of Nashville, as part of our winter tour to bring you guys the best of the best. And the man standing to my left is Mr. Ben Pellicani. If you guys don't know Ben, I highly urge you to go follow him on his Instagram, and particularly post so many good concepts and drills. He's a Golf Digest Best Young Teacher. He's a Golf Digest Best Teacher in the state of Tennessee, and he's a great golf instructor. So Mr. Ben, thank you for being out here with us.
Appreciate the kind words.
Absolutely. So in this video here today, we're talking about the 2 best drills for the perfect backswing length. One of them being an indoor version of a drill, and then the second one being an outdoor version. And so let's talk a little bit about backswing length, and then we'll get into those drills. It could be too long of a backswing, there's negative consequences too, and then maybe too short of a backswing, there's also some negative consequences.
Yeah, I think it's something that, you know, mostly with beginners, but then even as people kind of progress, is something I hear is, you know, I just kind of lose when where I'm supposed to be up here.
All the time, yeah.
And sometimes it's just a matter of, you know, you haven't hit balls in a while, and hey, I got to go play golf tomorrow, and gosh, I wish I knew where I was at the top of my swing, right? And so, you know, the whole point of getting to the top of your swing in the same place every time is to be as repeatable as possible.
Got it.
Right?
Yep.
So we want to come from the same spot as much as we can, because then it's going to make life easier, right?
Yep.
And so the 2 most common problems that we see are people are way too long,
yep,
right? And then people can get way too short. And so they each have their problems, right? And it's what's funny is the guy who's always way too long would rather be the other guy.
Sure.
And
grass is always greener.
Yeah, always the greener, and then they find out, oh, not so much, right?
Yeah.
So the guys who get really long, and that's the one you see a lot, mostly with juniors. I love this drill for junior golfers and beginners.
Yeah.
Like, you know, when I work with a beginner lady and we teach her how to turn, like a lot of times they're trying to figure out how far back do I go.
Sure.
And so when you go back too far.
Yeah, can you show me that, Ben?
Yeah, so what happens is, you know, and it's not just about where the club is relative to parallel. It's where your arms are. Right? Because this to me is way too far,
yep,
but I'm not past parallel.
Yes.
Right?
Yep.
And at the same time, like I could be here, and I think that might be a little short.
What would be some good checkpoints as like a general rule for a newer golfer as to where they would be trying to get to?
Yeah, so, you know, in kind of like a general sense, like if you hinge 90 degrees with your left arm,
yep,
right, and that left arm was kind of put across your chest at address, so, you know, for the guys who kind of work out, that's not going to go as far, right?
Yep.
For me, it might go a little bit further, but, you know, if you kind of hinge that at 90 degrees and kind of work it across the chest and then
yep,
kind of tilt down in your posture and then give me that good turn that we talked about in that good depth, that kind of gives you a rough estimate for that person to kind of say how far they should go.
Can you do that one more time for me? I love that. I think there's 1 or 2 things we could point out that are
really so again, 90 degrees with
yep,
with that lead arm. We're going to kind of work that across the chest without that arm breaking down.
Yep.
And then we're just kind of have to tilt into our golf posture and go ahead and turn as much as you can.
So if we're at the top, and as like a real stock general rule, if we kept this 90-degree angle close to 90, and maybe if this arm relative to here is on like a 40-ish degree type of deal, is that something fair?
Yeah, and that, you know, again, it's some of that's going to, that's where like body type comes in.
Got it.
Right? Because guys might have long arms or short arms. And again, flexibility plays a role in this.
Yep.
You know, some of my senior golfers, they might not be able to get as far as, say, maybe a young junior can.
Got it. So I think that gives a good general rule. Now, let's say the golfer has too long of a backswing. Before we get to the drills, which are going to be great, if a golfer has too long of a backswing, what might be some negative things or bad things with that?
Yeah, so the downside of getting too long, right, and it's not that you can't, but the downside of it is now this club head has a long way to go to catch back up with the rest of your body.
Yeah.
So if this club gets way, way, way behind you and you start rotating at all, well, now that club's pretty far behind you. So at some point, you're probably going to have to slow down. And anytime we slow down in and around impact with our body, this club, this is a heavy object at the end of a shaft moving pretty fast. It's going to come flashing through, and who knows where the ball is going to go.
And because this is going to come up, so I want to address it right away. The fact that there's a handful of PGA Tour players who swing long and are great players, they're anomalies.
Well, and talent trumps all, right?
Oh, thank you. Okay, good.
You know, and I think that's the thing. What I would do is I would look at the most unathletic, unassuming tour players and say, what do they do?
I'm going to start using
that. I
like that. Yep.
Because it's amazing what happens when you're 6'4" athletic and can dunk a basketball.
You can do a lot of things.
You can make a lot of things work.
So Bubba Watson back here, leave that to Bubba Watson. Let's have something that's easier.
Yeah, and I guess the question would have been, right, and you can't fix him now, and I'm not even saying fix might not even be the best word, but if you got to Bubba when he was 12, could his ceiling have been even higher, right?
Could be, yeah.
Because Bubba's a great example of a guy who shows up 3 times a year. The good news is he wins.
That's right.
Right? And he's in the right place.
Yes.
And so when he wins those 3 times a year, he's a millionaire and he's a great player, borderline Hall of Famer.
And we're going to just make things easier, right?
Yeah.
We're going to go normal. Now, let's say someone's the opposite of Bubba Watson. They're shorter than John Rahm. They're short in the backswing. What are some of the issues a normal golfer might run into if they have too short of a backswing? Yeah,
and now we're just talking simple physics because...
Simple physics.
Simple physics, yeah. So, you know, you're accelerating a club to the golf ball.
Yeah.
And if you have a shorter amount of time to do that, this isn't going to speed up that much. So the reason being short is a challenge is it limits how fast you can speed it up. And now people will say, well, what about Tony Finau? He bombs it. Again, we're talking 6'4", can dunk a basketball, right?
Yeah.
So again, it limits the amount of time you can speed up that club. And so what usually happens with most people is they start trying to get that speed from other places. And so we start seeing some kind of violent, over the top. We can see a lot of different moves just trying to speed it up. And, you know, again, if you already have speed and you're short, don't worry about this, right? But for most of us, if we get short, it's because that's going to then give us a limit on how fast we can get.
Yeah, let's again a theme of like, let's make this as easy as possible for the most amount of people. Now, we just so happen to have a really easy, simple drill to do inside that we're going to show you guys in a second. All right, Ben, so the inside portion of the swing length drill, if you could talk me through how this works.
Yeah, and so, you know, we said that, you know, some people get short, some people get long, and that this drill is good for everybody. And so, you know, the first thing I would say is, if this is the first time doing the drill, flip the club around. Because what I don't need is some people, you know, send me some direct messages here about putting holes in walls. But in time, you should be able to do this flipped around and maybe go do this out in your garage too. But you're going to get kind of dangerously close to the wall. So an inch or two off the wall. We don't want our lead foot on the wall, but just off the wall. And then what we're going to do is go ahead and take our normal posture. And from there, all we're going to do is turn and touch that wall. And notice I didn't whack the wall. I didn't bounce off the wall. And as I do this, I should get really good at matching everything up and kind of getting a feeling of where I want to get that club at the top of my swing.
And it simultaneously gives you feedback whether you're, like you said, too short or too long. Can I hop in there for a second?
Yeah, let's go ahead and get you to...
I like that. I like that, Ben, in that. So when I set up here, I'm getting my lead foot, kind of the outside lead foot, an inch or two away.
Absolutely.
Right? So I'm taking my normal setup position, and I'm trying to get my club. I haven't done this before. So I'm going to follow your advice. Okay, grip around, and I'm trying to get the butt of the club to the wall. So for me, like those other drills, because I get too short, that feels like I got to give a little extra. But it's, I mean, how can I not have good feedback from that, right?
Yeah, and then so, you know, once you kind of feel comfortable hopefully you can flip. Yeah, there you go. So you went searching for that wall.
I did.
And so, you know, one of the things I'd even recommend, go ahead and flip that club around. This time, I want you to kind of give a little waggle, kind of like a look down the target line, and then kind of down and go, and see if we can't start adding some routine and some rhythm into this drill as well.
Oh, I like that, Ben.
Because again, even though we're inside, we're trying to get that read and react type feeling. And you know what happens a lot of times with drills is people do the drill and then they don't treat it anything like what they do on the golf course. So if you get kind of that waggle look, turn and go, you start trying to get that kind of muscle memory of sorts, right? Of, hey, this is where I go when I play golf.
I love this to the point where for me, I can get such immediate feedback here. I think my favorite out of all of them, so I'm going to start implementing this tomorrow.
Love it.
Thank you, that was perfect. All right, guys, so obviously there we saw a super easy way to do this inside, and what I love about it is it simultaneously can fix the too short or too long version, and you just so happen to have a really nice way we could take that back outside. Can we talk about that?
Absolutely, and again, you know, the key word for me is feedback. Right? We got to have feedback. We got to know if we did it right or wrong. And that was what was great about that wall drill, right? We were able to do the same thing over time. Now, there are these people who are experts that say, you know, if you do anything 10,000 times, you become an expert at it. Right? Well, I can tell you this, if I turned and touched that wall 10,000 times, I would just become an expert at the length of my golf swing. Right? But the downside of that drill is we're not hitting a golf ball. Right? And to me, I want to hit golf balls. I'm a player. I want to hit balls. But I got to know if, you know, it's the right place or not. So let's go ahead and get you set up here. And again, what we're going to do, we're going to find two shafts, stick them together, put a noodle at the end of it.
And we can, these are just two broken shafts that we can put a little, anyone can put this together if they really wanted to.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, Play It Again Sports, yard sale, literally chop the heads off. I would go find the worst clubs you can and do that with, and then just jam them together.
Perfect. So I'm going to take my setup here. We're going to put that, how are we going to set that up?
That noodle in. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead, and the way you would do this if you're setting it up yourself is you would put it in and then you'd kind of move around. So I'm going to kind of move it around for him, but go ahead and get your setup. You want this thing touching just off your trail shoulder blade, which is for him his right shoulder blade. So it's right shoulder blade, and we're going to set this up approximately like a foot away and about at the angle that he stands at. So you kind of just, this is kind of his spine angle, this thing's kind of at the same level, and you go, well, how do you know if it's too close or too far away? Well, if it's too close, when he goes back, his shoulder will hit this noodle. If his shoulder doesn't hit the noodle, he's fine. How you know if it's too far away? Well, you won't hit it. So
I want to recap that, but you explained that so perfect that I think that's hard to miss. But just one more time. It's on the inside part of my trail shoulder blade, which for me is my right. So it's not back here to the right of me. It's not over my left. It's just inside of my trail shoulder. It's just far enough away where I'm not going to hit it with my shoulder when I turn.
Correct.
And it's roughly the same angle that I'm in my posture.
Absolutely. And then the other thing is let's say you wanted to make this, so this right now would be kind of like a consistent setup, right? Let's say, you know, most people get too long. If you wanted to make this an extreme drill, you would actually maybe put it more off your shoulder, your right shoulder. Because that would because that would even make it a little bit tighter.
So it'd be more like this?
Exactly. And so that would make it a little bit harder. And then again, we'd obviously, if you were a guy who got too short, maybe more in the middle of your spine, and now you're maybe even trying to touch it from there. So depending on where your fault is, this drill can actually be both. So what he's doing here is kind of, and that's the great part about that drill right there, right? You are measuring yourself. Right? And so as you hit balls doing this drill and you measure yourself, if you're the guy who runs away, you might get up there and you might whack it the first time. Right? And that's when you need to bring your camera back out. Because you get your phone out, because we all have them now, and you put your phone up and I really like the face-on view on this one, right? So when I get in here and I feel this out, I go, okay, does that feel right?
Yes.
Right? And if the answer is no, that doesn't feel right, but I film it and it looks right, you go, okay, man, I gotta really crank it back there, right?
Exactly.
Or, you know, what we see with a lot of times with juniors, the first time they do this, they whack that thing, right? And they're like, no way, I took it up to my hip, right?
Yeah.
So let's see it.
Yeah,
let's hit a couple balls here.
So I'm gonna set it up over so set up in a neutral position.
Yeah, go ahead and scoot back and show kind of how we'd set this up. So scoot all the way back into that noodle for me.
Yep.
So you can feel it.
Yep.
And then you can see you're gonna take that small shuffle step forward. That's how you'd typically set this up yourself.
Yep.
And then from there, you now have the ability to, again, measure yourself, get that feeling.
Well, you know what's interesting, Ben, is like me, I come from being swinging really long. I spent a lot of time and demonstrated shorter swings, and so now my swing gets really short. And so I love for this the secondary option there, where I actually feel like I'm lengthening to get there, and I can see the mirror behind me, camera and Mary, where that looks pretty normal and feels long, just to consolidate the same thing you said before of maybe having a video along with this so that you can confirm your feels with that. Would be such a good way to do this drill. And so I'm gonna hit one or two trying to get closer to it. I'm a little nervous about trying to hit it my first one I've done this before, but I'm gonna try and get to the noodle and have depth as I go back. So there for me feels pretty good. Does that look pretty good?
Yeah, you should be able to make some birdies from there.
So I'm gonna try and get back to it and just kind of hit one from there. I'll do one slow here first. And that feels probably like it feels to me like a foot longer than my normal. It's probably an inch, right, relative to normal. What I really, really like about this, again, with the mirror or video, is that I can actually see, like that feels so long and it looks normal, where I'm going. So I'm gonna do one more where I'm trying to get to it, and that feels good for me, and then I'll do a slow one. And that felt like I just clipped it at the top. And now, what's most important is I don't have to guess, right? If I make a decision that I want to change my backswing length, longer or shorter, I'm working with a coach, right, ideally, I don't have to guess. When I'm not with the coach, I put this drill in, I confirm it with video feedback, I do this, or I do the wall drill, and then I'm good to go.
Well, and you know, again, golf isn't easy, but it is pretty simple, right? We need to start balls on predictable start lines with predictable curves that go a predictable distance, right? And so the more we get back to the same spot, the easier it is to be more predictable, right? And that's really just the game it is. And so the more we can do that, the easier it'll be. And what I see with a lot of people who come through here, again, tour players to senior golfers to guys breaking 100, is that idea of where do I need to be can be challenging, right? And the other thing is some days you might do this drill and you're doing how you're doing it. You're like, man, where the heck is that noodle, right? And then other days you might go back and go, oh my gosh, I thought I just took that up to my hip, right? And so I think that is the neat part about a drill like this, is that the same drill can be used for two different, in a sense, problems, right? But two different things that we're trying to work on, and it gives that layer of repeatability that I just think, again, makes golf a little bit simpler. And the simpler we make this, you know, the more fun we'll have.
So many good things in this. Again, guys, two great feedback drills. You know, we love feedback, we love the live view, we love recording the swing. These are two great ways to do it both inside and outside if you're working on it during the winter months and or taking it back outside. Guys, follow Ben. If you don't follow him on Instagram, Pelly Golf. PellyGolf.com is his website. Would highly suggest if you're in the Nashville, Franklin area to come see Ben to help you work on your game. Awesome drills. Ben, thanks so much, man.
Glad to have you guys here.
Hey guys, thanks for watching today's video. If you liked the video, do us a favor, click the like button down below. Click the notification bell. Also, please subscribe. Thank you guys.